Ethan Hale had never been afraid of silence. In fact, he'd always found a strange kind of comfort in the stillness of his small apartment on the 10th floor. No roommates, no pets, just him, the soft hum of the fridge, and the occasional creak of the old building settling into itself. But lately, the silence had started talking back. It began subtly. A faint sound he assumed was just faulty plumbing. A hiss here, a drip there. But one night, as he stood in the shower, hot water steaming the mirrors and fogging up the cold tile walls, he heard something else, something softer, more intentional, a whisper. He froze under the spray, shampoo halfway through his hair. Hey, his eyes snapped open, his breath hitched. He turned his head slowly toward the plastic curtain, the cheap kind that stuck to your leg when the steam got too thick. Nothing. He pulled the curtain aside in one swift motion. The bathroom was empty, just the fogged mirror and a faint hum of the vent above. "Get a grip, Ethan," he muttered. But the voice returned the next night, and the next, always when he was showering. Always behind the curtain. It never shouted, never rushed, just whispered. Brief phrases, sometimes nothing more than a sigh or the sound of breath. Once it sounded like his name. Another time he thought he heard a chuckle, low and raspy. He started showering faster, avoiding eye contact with the mirror, playing music from his phone at max volume. But somehow the whispers cut through it all. Ethan began to question his sanity. Work became difficult. He couldn't concentrate. He stopped answering calls. Friends' texts went unread. At night, he sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the bathroom door. Eventually, he bought a voice-activated recorder, one of those cheap ones journalists use. He set it up near the shower one evening and pressed record. He wanted proof, evidence that it wasn't all in his head. That night, the whispering was more distinct. It lingered, hovering at the edge of his hearing like steam on a mirror. "Don't turn around." He turned. Nothing. He ended the recording with shaking hands. But when he played it back, silence. No whisper. No strange sounds, just the rhythm of running water. That was the moment when fear became obsession. He stayed up late, researching audio hallucinations, ghost stories, even forums filled with ramblings about voices in the steam. Most were nonsense. A few hit too close to home. "Spirits linger in water," one comment read. "Mirrors are gateways." Voices that speak in steam are never friendly. He laughed it off, but something had taken root inside him. A small, gnawing dread that wouldn't leave. One evening, after days of avoiding the bathroom altogether, he forced himself back into the routine. A man couldn't live in fear of his own plumbing. The shower started. Steam rose. He stepped in. Minutes passed. No sound. Just the hiss of hot water. Then, "I'm behind you." He didn't move. He didn't breathe. His eyes stared forward at the tiled wall. The voice, his own voice, whispered again, "You shouldn't have turned around." He whipped the curtain open, water splashing everywhere. The room was empty, but on the mirror, drawn in the condensation, was a single word: "Look." Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat on the couch with the bathroom light on, the door wide open, and the mirror scrubbed clean. His apartment felt altered, like the air had grown thicker. He jumped at every creak, every gust of wind through the old window panes, and the word on the mirror haunted him. Look, he'd convinced himself it was the steam, random moisture forming shapes. But deep down, he knew better. That handwriting had intention. It was written with a fingertip. Someone, or something, was trying to communicate with him. By morning, Ethan had made a decision. No more showers. For the first time since moving in, he felt fear in his own home, but the bathroom didn't care about his rules. The next night, as he brushed his teeth, fully clothed, nowhere near the shower, he noticed something, a new smudge on the mirror. It wasn't a word this time, just a long curved streak, as if someone had dragged a finger slowly across the glass. He cleaned it, locked the door, tried to laugh, but the next night it returned. Then a second one, a third. It was as if someone on the other side was tracing their way out. Ethan began avoiding the bathroom entirely. He washed his face in the kitchen sink, used a friend's shower under the excuse of plumbing problems. But something followed him, not physically, but in presence. A sense that he was never truly alone. At work, co-workers noticed he was twitchy, paranoid. He stopped drinking coffee to avoid the bathroom at the office. His eyes were sunken, sleep-deprived, haunted. Then came the nightmares. In them, Ethan stood in the shower with his back to the curtain. Water poured, but it was black, like ink. Something would whisper his name, in his own voice, and just as he turned around, he'd wake up in a cold sweat. Every time, the dream ended the same way. He opened the curtain and saw himself staring back. Unable to cope, Ethan invited a friend over. Mike, rational, grounded, the kind of guy who fixed. Garbage disposals and believed ghosts were just weird drafts. He didn't tell Mike everything, only hinted at weird noises. Mike laughed it off but agreed to stay the night. While Ethan slept on the couch, Mike took the bed. At 3:12 a.m., Ethan woke to the sound of running water. The bathroom light was on. He rushed to the door. Steam billowed out, thick and choking. He could barely see. "Mike!" he called. No answer. He pushed into the room and froze. The shower was on, the curtain was drawn, and just like that night weeks ago, something whispered. Behind it, don't look. Ethan's hand trembled as he reached forward. His fingers gripped the curtain. One pull, just one. He had to know. He yanked it open, empty. No one in the tub, just steam swirling around the porcelain like smoke from an unseen fire. But when he turned, back toward the mirror, Mike was there. Not behind him, but inside the glass, mouth open, eyes wide, screaming, then, just as quickly, gone. Ethan stumbled out of the bathroom, heart slamming against his chest. Mike was sitting on the couch, groggy, rubbing his eyes. "What's up, man? You okay?" You were in the shower, in the mirror." "I saw you. I've been here the whole time," Mike interrupted. Didn't even get up. Later that morning, Mike left. Ethan didn't explain what he saw. What would be the point? He was starting to understand something. This wasn't about sound anymore. The whispers were just bait the mirror wanted him to see. That night, he stood in front of the mirror again. No water running, no steam. Just him and the cold glass. He leaned in, watched himself, waited. Then the reflection blinked, only once, but Ethan hadn't. Ethan didn't leave the apartment that day. Instead, he opened his laptop and began digging. He started with the building's address, then the unit number, then keywords: death, accident, disappearance. Nothing came up at first, but on page 5 of the search results, buried beneath rental ads and court records, he found it. Local man disappears. under bizarre circumstances in Elm Crest Apartments. The date was from 4 years ago. The article was short, vague, a single paragraph in a local paper. It mentioned a man named Daniel Rooks, age 29, who had gone missing. No sign of forced entry, no signs of a struggle, no suspects. But this part made Ethan's stomach turn. Authorities found the man's apartment locked from the inside. The only clue was a fogged mirror with a single word written in it: stay. Ethan stared at the word, stay. It mirrored what had appeared in his own bathroom days ago. Look, both were commands, both written in moisture. Was it possible that Daniel had experienced the same thing? He dug deeper, searching for anything else on Daniel. Social media, obituaries, photos. Eventually, he found a grainy picture. A man with short brown hair, a crooked smile and eyes that, even in a still photo, looked tired. Underneath was a caption: taken a week before Daniel Rooks vanished without a trace. Ethan froze. He knew that face. He'd seen it before in the mirror. That night, he turned on the shower. For the first time in days, the bathroom fogged up quickly. He waited, standing just outside the stall, heart racing, breath shallow. He didn't undress. He didn't step inside. He just watched the mirror. Steam curled across the glass like fingers reaching out, and then a word appeared. This time, it wasn't carved or scratched. It was written as if someone was standing behind the mirror, writing from the other side. It read, "I'm still here." Ethan backed away, knocking over the toothbrush cup. The faucet squealed. The water temperature dropped. And then the whispers returned. But they were clearer now, not just mumbling or hissing. They were words. His own voice. "Why did you leave?"
Me in here. Why won't you open the curtain? I saw what you did. Ethan slammed the door shut. Something about that last phrase chilled him to the bone.
I saw what you did. He hadn't done anything, had he? But the mirror thought he had. The voice sounded almost betrayed. Unable to think clearly, Ethan did something desperate. He went to the landlord, a gruff old man named Mr. Klein, who lived
on the ground floor. Ethan knocked hard until the door creaked open. "What's this about?" Klein muttered. "I need to know about the guy who lived in my apartment before me," Ethan said, his voice shaking.
Daniel Rooks, he disappeared, right? Klein's eyes narrowed. How do you know that name? Ethan explained everything. The voices, the fog, the mirror, the article. To his surprise, Klein didn't laugh. He just looked tired. Finally, he spoke. Daniel lived alone, quiet guy, always polite. But something changed near the end. Started keeping to himself. Complained about voices. Mirrors fogging up even when the water was cold. He said something lived in the steam. Ethan's mouth went dry. And then? One day I came up to fix a leak. Door was locked. No one answered. When I finally got in, nothing. Room was spotless, no sign of him. But the bathroom, Klein's voice cracked. The mirror was dripping even though the air was bone dry, and someone had written "stay" with their finger. He looked at Ethan for a long moment. I sealed the bathroom for a week after that. Should have never rented it again. That night, Ethan tried to sleep. But as he lay in bed, he heard it again, the curtain rustling. He sat up, heart pounding, silence. Then, "I saw what you did," right in his ear. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He stayed up, lights on, every mirror covered, every sound amplified in the silence. The whispers hadn't returned, not yet, but the memory lingered. "I saw what you did." The words echoed in his head like a verdict. By morning, he made a decision. He wouldn't run, he would investigate. Ethan returned to the bathroom. He removed the towels he had taped over the mirror, exposing the glass surface. His reflection stared back. Red eyes, pale skin, stubble from a sleepless week. He breathed on the mirror. A light fog spread. Nothing happened. He did it again and again. Then he whispered, "Daniel." The fog shifted. A single fingerprint appeared on the inside of the mirror. Just one, dragging downwards slowly. It wasn't Ethan's. That night, Ethan bought a thermal camera and set it to record the bathroom. He left the shower running, hot water fogging up the walls. He stepped out, closed the door, and waited in the hallway. Minutes passed, then a sound. Shh, slide, the curtain moving. He burst in, no one there, but the mirror had writing again. "This time, help me get out." He played back the footage. There was nothing on the video until second 4:21. Then in the thermal feed, a silhouette formed in the steam. Humanoid, standing on the wrong side of the mirror. Arms raised, mouth open, screaming something silently. The figure lifted one hand, touched the glass, then vanished. Ethan paused the screen. The outline was unmistakable. It looked like him, but not exactly. Slightly off. Eyes darker, expression warped, as if it was Ethan in the middle of a nightmare, or something wearing his face. He needed answers. Desperate, Ethan tracked down someone from the article. About Daniel, the reporter who wrote the piece, a woman named April Renner, now a freelancer. She agreed to meet at a nearby coffee shop. "I barely remember the case," she admitted. "It was my first year as a journalist, but I do remember one thing. The police didn't investigate properly. They said it was just a missing person case, no signs of foul play." "But there were signs," Ethan said. "The mirror, the..."
"Writing," she nodded. "That's what scared me. I spoke to Daniel's sister before she moved out of state. She told me something strange." "What?"
April lowered her voice. "She said Daniel used to say there was another version of him inside the mirror. It started mimicking him, whispering back. But eventually it wasn't mimicking anymore." "What do you mean?" "It started thinking
for itself." That night, Ethan stared at the bathroom mirror for hours. Steam rolled in from the running shower. He stood just beyond the fog's edge. "I know you're in there," he whispered. Silence. "I know you're Daniel, or what's left of him."
Still nothing. Then a flicker. His reflection blinked before he did. Ethan froze. The mirror. Ethan leaned forward, smiled. It raised a hand, touched the glass. Ethan raised his too. Their fingers met, only there was no cold surface. His hand went through. Ethan jerked back. The mirror shimmered like water disturbed by a stone. He reached out again. The mirror rippled under his palm like liquid glass. On instinct, he stepped forward, and the world tilted. Suddenly everything felt inverted. His bathroom looked the same, but wrong. Dimmer. The shadows were longer. The light bulbs buzzed. The tiles were cracked in places he didn't remember. He turned to the mirror. But now his reflection wasn't mimicking him anymore. It was watching from the other side. A second Ethan, trapped, palms against the mirror,
screaming silently. The real Ethan, or the one who had always been, was now inside the mirror. And something else
was free. Outside the mirror, the other Ethan turned, stretched, and walked calmly out of the room. Ethan screamed, beat against the glass, but there was no sound, no crack, no way out. Behind him, the shower curtain rustled. The voice returned.
No longer a whisper. It said, "Now you know how it feels." And the curtain began to pull back.
Ethan's hand froze on the edge of the curtain. That whisper. It wasn't behind him, it was coming from him, or rather, from the other him. The one in the mirror, the one still staring through the fogged glass. Smirking, Ethan yanked the curtain. Aside, nothing, just steam. Silence. His heart pounding, he stepped out of the shower, cold air crawling across his wet skin. The mirror was still foggy except for a small circle cleared perfectly in the center. In it, his reflection. But it wasn't moving. Ethan waved. The reflection did not. He stepped closer. Goosebumps lifted along his arms. The reflection began to move, but not like a mirror. It blinked before he did. Ethan staggered back. The reflection stepped forward. Then it whispered, "You finally let me in." Ethan screamed, but the room didn't echo. The mirror's surface began to ripple, like disturbed water, and a pale hand pressed from the inside. The hand pushed further. A face emerged, his own, but subtly wrong. The eyes too wide, the smile too knowing. Before Ethan could move, it lunged. There was a sharp pull, like a vacuum, a scream trapped in reverse, and then silence. The bathroom was still, but the mirror was no longer fogged. Now it only reflected one Ethan, calmly drying off, humming to himself. He walked out of the bathroom as if nothing had happened. 1 week later, April sat at her desk scrolling through unread emails when one caught her eye. Subject, "I found Daniel." Sender, Ethan Calloway. She opened it. No message body. Just a video attachment. She clicked play. The video showed Ethan's bathroom. The shower.
The mirror. She fast-forwarded until a frame made her blood turn cold. Ethan stood in front of the mirror, but the reflection was delayed. Just a fraction of a second behind, and then, in the background, barely visible through the curtain,
something moved. April leaned in, trying to make it out. Just before the video ended, the reflection turned, looked straight into the camera, and whispered, "She's next." April froze. From the corner of her eye, something shifted. She turned to her own bathroom down the hall. The door was open, the light was off, but she could see the shower curtain. It moved, just slightly. A whisper rode the silence. "April."